for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz thanked Vice President Kamala Harris for choosing him as her running mate, calling it the honor and privilege of his life. After Harris conceded, Walz thanked Americans who supported their campaign. 5 out of 6 healthcare workers in hospitals and nursing homes are saying no to COVID-19 boosters. The CDC says just over 15% got boosted during the 2023-24 respiratory virus season. Wall Street closed with stocks sharply higher after Donald Trump's historic presidential win. It also comes as the Federal Reserve will make a decision on rate cuts today. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 1,508 points, the S&P 500 gained 146 points, and the Nasdaq gained 544 points. And Starbucks is launching its holiday menu featuring returning favorites like the peppermint mocha and lattes, caramel brulee, chestnut praline, and iced sugar cookie almond milk. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
New Schools for New Orleans, along with Allstate Sugar Bowl and Entergy New Orleans, would like to send a huge congratulations to our class of 2024 New Orleans Excellence in Teaching Award honorees. This year, we had 90 Teachers of the Year from each public school in New Orleans. Each of them was recognized at our annual gala, where we had over 350 attendees. We're excited to also share that each honoree is receiving a $1,000 classroom grant. Thank you for everything you do, teachers.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning show. Happy Thursday to everybody. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Good morning. Wake up, y'all. Wake up. Listen, I'm in a good mood. I'm really in a good mood, y'all. I don't know if you can see me, if you can tell, if you can hear me, if you can tell, but I'm in a good mood. So I'm going to welcome y'all again to the Good Morning Show. Listen, you know Naren is back there holding me all together. I cannot do this without him. So, hey, Naren. But listen, I'm in a good mood for a number of reasons this morning. So today, I'm going to be speaking to some children. And if you know me, then you know children are my kryptonite. And so for me, I think that anytime that I'm given the opportunity and God blesses me to speak to kids, it's always a good day for me. So today, I'm going to be at the NOLA Love Rally at Mahalia Jackson today. The rally starts 4:10. I do know that I am not the only person on the lineup today. I believe Juvenile is on the lineup. Wallow is on the lineup. Greg Tillery from We Dat, he's also on the lineup. And there's a number of performers. I know Tizzy, the kids go crazy for Tizzy. BJ So Cold, I love him as well. He's also on the lineup. DJ Rari, who is also BJ So Cold's DJ. So, you know, they have to do something for the children. And I mean, if you don't know anything about the kids and what they're doing right now, they're tripping out. So if you've ever seen the Trip Out dance, that's Tizzy. And so today is going to be a wonderful day. I'm so excited. My aunts are in town. They're always listening from Dallas, and they're always in the comments. My auntie Linnell and my auntie Val, but they're actually here today, and they're going to be at the event today. I'm so excited. I wanted my mom to come, but she has to work. But I'm sure she's listening. I know you wanted to be there. But your sisters will be there. I'm sure they'll tell you how to go. But I'm extremely excited to be able to interface with children. I absolutely, positively miss it. I think the job of my life was being a principal. I loved it. I got up every morning to do it and do it well. And now I've kind of like fallen into a job that I also love, being here on WBOK talking to you guys every morning. Didn't know that this was even in the cards for me, but that's God's sense of humor at play right there. So I absolutely love getting up every morning, coming to my little black job, working with my little black producer back there behind the glass, and and talking to the WBOK listening audience. So shout out to the owners of WBOK for making this platform possible for me to speak to you. So I'm excited about today. Very, very much so excited. Yesterday, just a little quick pivot. Yesterday, we were talking about all things post-election and everybody's like feelings about that. But the point that I hope you guys were able to take away from all of the conversations that have been happening leading up to the election is the idea that no matter who sits on that throne and who is going to be tapped to be our commander in chief, and right now that looks to be the former president, current president-elect Donald Trump, we have to figure out a way to craft a way forward in unity, because even if you did not vote for him, he is still going to be the president of these United States. And so we have to figure out a way to quit all of the divisiveness, tone down the rhetoric, and just do what's in the best interest of the American people. Do I think that's going to be an easy task? Absolutely not. But as you know, today is Congressman Troy Carter Thursdays, and we're going to pick our congressman's brain, and we're going to talk to him, have some real candid conversations, some real direct conversations about what to expect in the next 4 years. What can people do who are feeling saddened by the loss, by Vice President Kamala Harris's loss, and what we could do as a country, and how as a country can we move forward. And I'm excited that he's on today because I think it's the perfect time to talk to someone that's in that setting all the time, having to work across the aisle, having to create some sort of bipartisan conversations around how do we unify, how do we move forward. And so I know it's hard. I know there are a lot of hurt feelings, but at the end of the day, we have to realize that no matter who we chose to be our president, a president was going to be elected, and we had to live with the outcome or even the consequences of that outcome. We have to live with it. My only hope is that something clicks in the mind and in the heart of this of our president-elect, because the rhetoric leading up to the election was pretty scary. I don't know what has to happen, but if he goes forward with a lot of the initiatives that he ran on in terms of Project 2025, it is really going to be a very difficult path forward, in unity. Because when you talk about demolishing federal agencies, namely the Department of Education, for me, I know a lot of people are thinking about other departments, but for me, the Department of Education is the one that I've always been paying attention to, because I understand the implications of doing away with that framework. It's scary. It's scary for most families who can't afford to send their children to other options in terms of schools. It's very scary for the teacher base. It's just very scary, because if you do away with that, you're going to affect the lives of so many people across this country. And for a long time, we know here in New Orleans, our teachers were our working middle class. That was the middle class. And we saw what happened in the wake of Katrina. When you demolished the middle class, the entire economic stronghold in New Orleans started to decline. And so it's just very scary that we are facing so much uncertainty in terms of what his policies truly will be, what policies he's going to stand by and push forward. It's a very, very scary time. So thank goodness today is Thursday. Thank goodness we get to talk to our congressman who can kind of put this thing in focus for us. I was watching an interview yesterday. They were interviewing Kennedy. And of course, he also was a presidential nominee until he stepped aside, and then he threw his support behind Donald Trump. Well, we now know he did that because Donald Trump promised him an appointment to run all of our healthcare agencies. And for a person who wants to get rid of the FDA, I just think it's scary to think about all of these federal protections we have in terms of healthcare, in terms of food services, in terms of education, in terms of quality of living, with our welfare systems and our just Social Security aid, just all of these things that are going to be affected in a way that I don't think we're prepared for. Wealthy people will do what wealthy people do. They will survive. They will make it. They will even thrive. But for working class America, impoverished America, I think it is very scary to realize what the plans are for this country. Very, very scary. You have nations all across this country not thanking him, but congratulating him on his victory. And I have to wonder what those relationships will be like. I just don't know. I'm very, very, very anxious to see what these initiatives are. I do know his campaign spokesperson, she did an interview and she said that the former president, current president-elect, is planning to do a mass deportation of illegal immigrants, in quotation marks, on his first day. So for someone who had such a strong support from people who are not native to this country, it's very scary to think that even if those folk who voted for him are here legally, I'm certain that there's a family member, maybe even a parent, that did not come to this country the right way. Most often people are fleeing unsafe environments, trying to find refuge in America. Not everybody's coming over here, for nefarious ideas or nefarious actions. More often than not, folks are looking for a better opportunity, a safer way of living, a more humane, dignified way of living, and they're looking to America for that reality. But the reality is, a lot of folks who are here don't want you here, and it's very sad because the humanity of it all is lost. Now, are there some bad apples? There's bad apples in every bunch. There's bad apples who are native to this country. There are bad apples who are committing domestic terrorism right here in the United States. And so we can't paint everybody with one brush. We can't say simply because one person did something wrong that we have to ostracize or block out every person who is seeking refuge or seeking a better way of living. Do I believe people should come to this country the right way? I absolutely believe that. Do I believe that everybody's afforded the opportunity to come to this country the right way? Can they afford to do it? Do they have the means to do it, the resources to do it, the connections to do it? I don't. The education to do it? No, I do not. I do not. I don't believe that everybody has a level playing field in terms of looking for a better way of living when they're eyeing this country in terms of an American dream. And so it's just very scary to think that as Americans, we support the idea of putting a wall between us and other human beings in terms of this fallacy that everybody on the other side of the wall is dangerous and everybody on the other side of the wall is trying to harm us and everybody on the other side of the wall is trying to take our jobs. I think that's a weird, asinine way of looking at folk. I mean, I think everything is a case-by-case situation, but for your presidency to start with mass deportation simply because you've spewed this rhetoric about the illegals and they're just flooding in and taking advantage of us, fear-mongering, I think it's divisive, and I don't think it's truthful, and I think it's scary. I just saw my co-host. He looked so handsome this morning too. He was up early, going to talk to the folk, doing what only he can do at the level that he does it. So shout out to OT. But I think that's dangerous. And listen, we are going to have some in-depth conversations this morning with newly reelected Congressman Troy Carter, regarding this idea of post-election anxieties, post-election realities. And so if you want to talk to our congressman, if you have a question or concern, the number here is 504-582-9422. Good morning, OT. How you doing?
Sunshine, I'm doing better now.
Yeah. Listen,
I'm here.
I keep trying to tell people it really doesn't matter who sits in this chair next to me. It's always a good day when I get to do this show with you.
Well, hey, let me, vice versa, right? As much as I enjoyed my interview with WWL-TV and Brandon this morning, man, one of the joys of my life is coming here with you, sharing information.
Yeah.
Chopping up a lot of sensitive, powerful stuff that we can than give back to our listening audience, hear from them,
Yeah.
and just, man, wax these conversations. Man.
Oh, yeah, listen.
I enjoy it.
The WBOK listening audience keeps us sharp. You have to sharpen your knives to get on this mic every morning because somebody going to call and they going to have a question or they going to push on something we've said. But one of the things we always say together is we appreciate perspective.
It's a talk show, and what we do.
That's what we do, and we talk.
And look, and on that note, I was talking to somebody the other day. Boy, James couldn't wait to call us and check us out.
Listen, but here's the thing, and I appreciate it because
we really did.
what it shows us is he's listening.
Yeah.
Even if they misconstrue what we've said or our ability to say it or our right to say it, you don't always have to agree with us.
No doubt about it.
We gonna miss the mark sometimes, but we're not aiming to be perfect. We're aiming to be real. And so when you're real, you might step outside of the lines a little bit. But I take it. I accept it. We wanted Vice President Kamala Harris to be our choice, but the American people said something different.
And I'm going to say this, and Dr. White and I talked about it off air the other day. After the service, after we missed our loved ones, most people get up and go to work the next day.
They sure do. After they go to the repairs.
After they go to repairs.
And shake a leg or two.
Yeah, life doesn't stop.
Yeah, it goes on. Look, we already have a caller this morning. Let's see what the people talking about. Good morning, Treese. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, superstar.
Good morning. Listen, I hear you say we got to accept, what America, and I put that in quotes, say.
Mm-hmm.
But what's Joe Biden's main job? Like, what is the job of the president? To protect what?
To protect the country, to protect us, to lead.
To protect the Constitution,
he has to
right?
protect this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's the
all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Right.
Yes.
And you know how that other guy didn't concede and tried to not allow the election to be certified under false pretenses.
Right.
I feel like our president has real law reasons. This guy said he's going to let out those people from January 6th. He said a whole bunch of other things about what he's going to do to go against the Constitution. So I still think that it's his duty to continue to protect us Americans because, and even like he can't even move forward with the DOJ thing because of what's going on. So I feel like it is in his job duties to be able to say, listen, we're not going to certify this until President-elect has due process for the charges because we want to make sure that we're not putting a treasonous in office.
Yeah, well, the one thing that I can say about President Biden is that he's going to do what he feels is right in terms of his duty and responsibility to this country. And I'm going to trust whatever decision that he makes. But I think, it's not that you don't continue to hold people accountable. But, we still got jobs to do.
Yeah.
Families to take care of.
Yeah. But to on Teresa's point, there's some validity there because what she's saying is if he's proclaiming to want to do all of these things that are adversarial to the Constitution, adversarial to democracy, then he may be a threat, a domestic threat.
Then how do you protect those
how do
things?
we protect
I got it. Okay,
here's my thing. What I'm saying, my last point, and I'm going to hang up. That is something that the Democrats lack in. And my idea is the balls to sometimes just stand on the right thing. I feel like they give in a lot of times under the grounds of being the high ground, and we have to let the country move forward peacefully. But sometimes peacefully means you have to stand a ground so you can have peace, because if this guy is saying he's going to do all these things to the Constitution, then your high ground and moving forward may be the thing that harms us more than you just sticking to.
You hit on a point that I think has been proven, especially over the last several decades, that you can say what you want about Republicans, but they stick together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they do
one band, one sound.
They stick together.
And if you step out of line, they're gonna get you out of your seat. They're gonna come
and if they had this opportunity with real law to do it, you best believe they would do it, because he didn't even have a right to do that last time, and he tried it.
Thank you, Tris. I appreciate your insight.
Thank you, absolutely.
Right.
So have a great, great day.
Listen, You know, we have to go to break already. It went by so fast.
Yeah, well, you know, yeah, I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh and sing a song. Seems we
listen,
just get started and
not what
before
he's
you
singing.
know
He's in a really
it.
good mood, y'all. He's in a really good mood.
I'm sitting next to the host with the most. In real person, not no ghost.
Listen, stay
Hey,
with
ain't
us.
nothing like butter on some real good toast.
After the break, we're going to have some in-depth conversations with our re-elected
I'm
Congressman
telling you,
Troy
man.
Carter.
Yeah.
So stay with us right
no
here on
doubt about
WBOK
it.
1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking
All
about.
day long. Whose station?
Our station.
Our station, baby.
Find us online. Did you know that you can now listen to your favorite show whenever you want? How? Just go to www.wbok1230.com. Click on the Talk tab and select your favorite show. There you'll see your favorite host and the show from each day. And be sure to follow us on Facebook at WBOK1230AM, Instagram at WBOK.1230, and TikTok at WBOK1230AM.
Good morning and happy Thursday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at today's headlines. The New Orleans Police Department is investigating a shooting in Mid-City. We're told a man was found on Bank Street near Broad with at least one gunshot wound around 11 Wednesday night. He was taken to a local hospital where right now there is no word on his condition. Then happening today in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, lawmakers will begin meeting in earnest to discuss tax reform. That's because this is the first full day of a special session. Governor Jeff Landry called that special session due to a budget shortfall of several $1 million. He says he also wants to make tax reforms to make Louisiana more competitive on a national scale. This is the third special session called this year. The other two focused on crime and the state's ongoing insurance crisis. Back here in New Orleans, city leaders are in the process of presenting their spending plans for 2025, and city council members want to hear your feedback on the $1.8 billion budget proposal. There is a meeting tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. on Crowder Boulevard. Then there is another meeting on Monday. That is at the Algiers Regional Library, also from 6 to 7. And that is a check of today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News. Have a great day and happy Friday Eve.
NOLA Public Schools' main round enrollment for kindergarten through 12th grade is now open. With 73 schools available through the NOLA Public Schools Common Application Process, or NCAP, finding the right school fit for your family is easier than ever. List up to 12 choices to maximize your chances and apply by January 24th. We're all in, and we hope you are too. Apply today at enrollnolaps.com. That's enrollnolaps.com.
Hi, it's Dr. Shepard with Honeydew Products, here with your Medical Minute. In today's Medical Minute, we will discuss the unregulated hair extension industry. Aside from being a pretty and durable means to wear hair, both synthetic and human hair extensions and wigs contain extremely harmful chemicals. In an InStyle article entitled, "The human hair in your wig may have been pulled from shower drains, and that's not even the worst part," Eldon Wicker notes that human hair wigs and extensions have misleading origins. Even when labeled Brazilian or Remy, the hair often comes from India and China and incorporates found or fallen hair. This hair is then treated with a mysterious chemical acid rinse and coated with silicone. Not all of the chemicals used in this hair production can be identified, nor do they have to be reported. Synthetic hair has been found to contain polyethylene terephthalate, polypropylene, and polyvinyl chloride. These are plastics linked to a range of health issues, including skin and scalp irritation, respiratory problems, and even cancer. PVC can increase the risk of developing liver, brain, lung, and testicular cancers, as well as lymphoma and leukemia. It can impact the nervous system and disrupt the endocrine system, causing reproductive issues. When heated, the fumes can cause asthma and respiratory symptoms. Synthetic hair also includes acrylonitrile, which the EPA has labeled a probable carcinogen, vinyl chloride, which the National Cancer Institute links to various cancers, heavy metals such as cadmium and lead, which leach over time and is associated with biological risks such as kidney, liver, lung, reproductive system, and nervous system disorders. It has also been associated with skin irritations, asthma, cardiovascular disease, and brain disorders. Synthetic hair also includes flame retardants, which can have adverse health effects including cancer and reproductive organ toxicity. It includes volatile organic compounds, pesticides, nitrates, paraphenylene diamine, and parabens. To not be affected by these harmful chemicals and toxins, use natural alternatives. You can use plant-based hair extensions. You can also style and grow your natural hair. For more information about healthy hair and healthy hair products, give me a call at 504-858-4696.
This has been your Medical Minute with Honeydew Products on WBOK.
The National World War II Museum, located in the Warehouse District of New Orleans. The National World War II Museum tells the story of America's experience in the war that changed the world, why it was fought, how it was won, and what it means today. Visit them online at www.nationalww2museum.org for time tickets and safety information.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. We are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. How you feeling?
Man, I feel, if I felt any better, I'd be you.
Well, listen.
And ain't too many people can feel that.
Listen. So you know what today is. Today, each and every Thursday is Congressman Troy Carter Thursdays here at
Conversations with our
WBOK.
Congress.
Absolutely. He's on the phone with us. Good morning, Congressman. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Shanta Wyatt. Good morning, my councilman, Oliver Thomas, my dear brother. Bless you.
Congratulations,
Bless you.
great brother.
Absolutely. Congratulations on your reelection.
Man, you had me worried with the 50% and the 45%, and I was like, they said 2 parishes was out. I'm now to say, okay, 60. When you hit that 60 number, I was like, okay, we can relax. That's the kind of number.
Well, let me tell you.
Say.
Let me just say this, man. We had to run in a new district, as you know, a greatly diminished district from our previous one.
Yeah.
So we had to really get out and introduce ourselves to some parts of the district that we had never represented before. And I'm very grateful this morning. Grateful to you, OT, for your fantastic support and friendship. Dr. Wyatt, yours as well. Your prayers, your well wishing.
You earned it.
And so many of our friends out there that stepped up to the plate and demonstrated, notwithstanding a change of demographics in the district, we finished extremely strong, and I'm humbled and honored and energized like never before to get back to fight for the people of Louisiana, particularly given the circumstances that we have. We know that we have challenges.
So shape that, because that's important. And first of all, thank you. And Dr. Wyatt and I were so excited. We love it when you have your agenda about your accomplishment, what you do. But I think this morning, especially what we just followed, it lends itself to a free-flowing conversation. So for our listening audience, Congressman, shape what it's going to be like now, so they'll know and have an understanding of when you say stuff, when you put forth stuff, even sometimes when you agree with stuff, the difference in how you're going to have to be a legislator now versus before.
Well, the one thing that we don't have the luxury, nor will we ever do, is quit.
Right.
We've got to play the hand that we're dealt,
mm-hmm.
and in this case, it's a hand we didn't anticipate. It's a hand that we know is going to challenge some of the things that are so important to us. This whole Project 2025 is a real dilemma. This was not just fear tactics. This is real. So now we have to redouble our efforts, and we have to wake up early and go to bed late and not miss a meeting and be prepared and keep the public informed. Listen, the world goes on. Things didn't happen as we wanted to on Tuesday or we expected to. But now that means we have to be even stronger, even more united, even more resolved in our efforts to defend our democracy, to defend the rights of individuals. And as the Vice President said, we're not going back. That hasn't changed. We're still not going back. People should rightfully and justifiably feel disappointed in what happened Tuesday, but now we got to keep moving. We don't have the luxury or the energy to sit back and say, woe is me. We have to continue the battle. OT, you and I have seen battles come and go, and we have worked them, and we have continued to fight even in the face of great adversity.
Yeah, we got kicked out of the governor. We got kicked out of the governor's mansion years ago.
That's exactly right.
We actually were asked to leave.
We didn't throw in the towel. We didn't hang up our spurs. We didn't quit. We just got to readjust. Like any war, you have to constantly recalibrate. You have to readjust. You have to strengthen your core. You have to encourage our base to figure out, as all of us have been doing, is be prayerful and to listen. What can we learn from this? And where do we go from here? We know this. We're not going to quit. We're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to demand our rights. And I pray that we will learn to be more unified. And as I often say, that we learn to love each other a little bit more and work more closely together.
As a policymaker, and I'll tell folk, and then Dr. White jump out, but I love the way he's willing to explain the new environment right now. Your institutional knowledge and your relationships, right, and the work is probably going to be needed more now than ever. But as a legislator, you were able to use the office of the White House because of your relationships there to deliver, right, probably more in a few years than most districts around this country. Talk about how that may be different now, especially because of the legislative packages you promoted not only work to protect us, but to deliver to us. How does that change now, and what changes about that with especially a Donald Trump in the White House?
Well, the changes are going to be evident in that many of the policies that I have fought for and will continue to fight for are not on the same accord with Project 2025. Okay. So that means we're going to have to fight that much harder. We're going to have to build even stronger coalitions of Republicans and Democrats to combat those things that I'm hopeful that even some of our more moderate Republicans will recognize are not good for our country. And so that means the practices and the work ethic that I've employed will have to even be greater. That means not having a White House that I had the rich relationships with. That all has to be rebuilt. That all has to be reworked, and it has to be done now in a vein of undoing some of the thinking and some of the rhetoric that we heard about reversing gains. Now we have to really get to the table and discuss the reality of those things that were said as a part of a campaign and make them just that, rhetoric, and keep them boxed away in the rhetorical conversations that are often had during campaigns and fight against them and never let them become reality. And that's going to require a lot of time at the table, a lot of negotiations, a lot of sitting and explaining and defending. And listen, I accept the challenge. I'm up for the challenge, and I'm going to work. And the people of Louisiana and the people of America need not throw in the towel. It is far from over. We've just got to recalibrate.
So what about the House situation with the road to 218? I see the Republicans are sitting at 209 and the Democrats at 191. The Democrats have flipped 2 seats, but I think you need about, 7? Are y'all trying to flip 7 more? Like what's the picture there?
We are still shy. It's not over yet. We're still shy of the requisite numbers that we need. There's still a number of races out there that could make the difference for us. It is going to be critically important now, more than ever, that we regain the power in the House, because if our system of checks and balances is to work, we have to have at least one of the chambers that will give us the ability to stop or to work or modify some of the things that will be devastating to our communities, to America, period, not just Democrats, but to our society. So those numbers, hopefully, we will be getting some science in the next few days. The numbers are coming in very slow. We remain cautiously hopeful that we we'll be able to regain the House and give some degree of the exercise of checks and balances as the framers of the Constitution intended it to be.
Two of the most powerful Republicans and two of Trump's biggest allies are from Louisiana. House Speaker Mike Johnson and power broker Steve Scalise. Does that help insulate you, especially because they're quote-unquote homeboys? Talk about that relationship and how you use it.
As you know, I served in the state legislature with both of them. All three of us are products of the Louisiana legislature. And the reality is that in most cases we vehemently disagree on policy sides, but we work well together, even though philosophically our views are quite different. We often vote quite different. We try to come together as best we can on issues that are specific to Louisiana. So Louisiana will continue to fight to make sure that we're getting the things that we need. And surely having the Speaker of the House be from Louisiana is certainly an advantage to Louisiana in general. It does not necessarily impact or change the issues that we will face as a democratic society, or those issues of fairness and equality. Those are issues that are still be up for grabs and up for discussion every day. Of course, we will utilize our relationships, as we always have, to continue to work with anyone, Republican, Democrat, independent, or other, who wants to do the right thing. I will sit to the table with anyone who has a desire, a hope, and a sincere wish to do the right thing, to provide equity, fairness, environmental justice, economic justice, criminal justice reform, health care, economic parity. These are all things that are on our agenda, will stay on our agenda, and we will continue to fight through the next 4 years and beyond with this administration and any other administration. And I can't emphasize enough, my gratitude for the people sending me back to Washington to be their voice and to fight for them. So in the two strongest words I can say, very simply, thank you, thank you, thank you to all of our listeners out there. And my words of encouragement are, be encouraged. Be encouraged. It's far from over.
Congressman, political historians are going to be studying this election for a long time. There have been some questions in the last several elections about how far the pollsters and campaign prognosticators are away from American people. But when you look at the numbers and analyze the numbers, and then you and I grew up in this business, so we're trained to do that. The pollsters not only got it wrong, but there were several groups out there who missed the mark, right? Hispanics, Hispanic men, a small percentage of black men. We know now we can't blame them. But college-educated white women and white women who the Harris campaign was counting on, the people said they were counting on, actually went the other way, as well as when you looked at that national map, and I was looking at it at your event when they put it up on one of the televisions, that showed that people voted and came out in places, and Dr. Wyatt talked about this the other day,
they don't even come
that
outside.
hadn't voted never came outside.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about how wrong they were and how those groups, in many cases, they represented something publicly, but in the voting booth, they did something else.
I think there are a number of things there, and you put your finger right on it, OT. Our whole system of collecting data and analyzing possible outcomes have proven to be flawed once again. So we have to come up with a new technology, a new science. This notion of following trends and assuming because one 55-year-old African-American man is voting X, then all 55-year-old black men are going to be voting X. Well, black folk are not a monolith. Other groups are not a monolith. And here's the other thing. People simply aren't telling the truth in who they're going to vote for. So the polling data doesn't always give you an accurate picture. Many of these groups were hoodwinked, if you will, by the kind of hate speak that was taught, that was spoke of rather, the kind of hate speak that was preached about immigrants taking your jobs. Listen, unless you're a Native American, we all came from somewhere else.
Yep.
You know, and a lot of us came here not wanting to, you know, but we're here now, and this is our country, and we're going to continue to fight to have our stake here because we built it. But the reality is, polling data, information, and the way we even the way we campaign, the apparatus that were used to take and to upside down facts and to do things that are so patently wrong, but people bought it. Yeah. Who would have ever thought that a presidential candidate could stand on stage and simulate a sex act with a microphone and be elected president of the United States, that people would somehow find that okay to have all of the incredible acts of disgust, quite frankly, of disrespect to women and people with disabilities and to people of different backgrounds, to say that Puerto Rico was a floating pile of trash, yet to have a significant amount of Hispanic men vote for. I don't get it. Some of this stuff, and you're right, OT, it's going to be dissected. There's going to be biopsies for a very long time to try to figure out exactly what happened. And I'm not sure we ever will, because polling today is not your grandpa's polling 50 years ago. It's a different day, a different system. Social media has a whole different role. The impact and effects of influencers and the whisper campaigns that are never traceable and are very difficult to stop. The one way we fix all this, let us not rack our brains on what happened. Mm-hmm. Let's recommit ourselves on what we can do. Because you see, when we're unified,
that's right, and
we're unified behind a cause, the underlying hate cannot survive. We deny its oxygen. We deny its oxygen by staying involved. We deny its oxygen by demonstrating our oneness. We deny its oxygen by staying up on the facts of what's happening in our community, listening to outlets like WBOK where they have access to unfettered facts, and to ask the tough questions and be a part of the process, and not only do it during that 6 or 8 months during an election, but 365 days a year as you do it right here on the morning show.
But listen, we are in conversation with our Congressman Troy Carter here on WBOK. If you want to speak to your congressman, I have a question. The number here is 504-582-9422. Stay with us on the other side of the break. More conversations with Congressman Troy Carter.
WBOK 1230 a.m.
What New Orleans is talking about.
Whose station?
Our station.
You know it's our station.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
We have the potential for more scattered showers today. As we get to the afternoon, highs will make it back into those mid-80s. Yesterday, we actually broke a record. And then looking ahead to the next few days, we are tracking chances for rain, but that all depends on what happens with Hurricane Rafael. Right now, the track, though, has shifted more to the south of us, which is some good news. We'll keep you updated on that. For the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for University Housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Are you passionate about community safety and police accountability? Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Get the facts and stay informed. We're breaking down complex issues, highlighting community voices, and holding people behind the badge accountable. Join us for an informative hour every Friday at noon on WBOK. Your city, your police, your show. The Monitor's Mic.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Experience the heartbeat of New Orleans at the 2024 Treme Creole Gumbo Festival. Join us on November 9th and 10th as we indulge in an array of gumbo offerings crafted by local chefs, each bringing their unique touch to this classic dish. Live performances featuring the Soul Rebels, Brassaholics, Tanya Boyd Cannon, Charmaine Neville Band, and many, many more. Visit us at www.TremeGumboFestival.com for more information.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 12:30 a.m. on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 12:30 a.m.
Are back. Welcome back to WBOK.
Conversations with our Congress.
Absolutely. And if you're just joining us, as OT said, we are in deep conversation, intimate conversation with our re-elected
and
congressman.
I'm actually loving this comment. And I think only someone with Congressman Carter's resume, and I'm not discounting anybody else, right? But talking about depth of experience, knowledge, relationships. Congressman, I actually see your role elevating now. I really do. So talk about how you're going to have to rely now on your patience, your relationships, and your experience of the legislative process now, so to continue to at least mitigate the pain and the disadvantage. Talk about your strategy there, because you've always been someone who is able to work with people. But we're going to need that even more now.
Yeah, it's going to require, a whole different approach from the standpoint of now we don't have the White House. I mean, that was obviously having the White House, even with the challenge of having a very narrow advantage in the Senate and being upside down in the House. At least we had something. Now. We don't have anything. We're hopeful that we'll still have the House. We don't have the White House anymore. That's a significant loss for being able to advance those issues that are important to our communities. But that doesn't mean it's over. It just means, again, it means you have to reshuffle the deck and come up with a new strategy.
Right.
Just like I use these analogies of war. when the enemy's coming from one angle, you don't just throw up. You've got to recalibrate, go from another angle. And so now what we have to do is we have to recalibrate, go to another angle, resharpen our tools on relationships on the other side of the aisle, and to win the discussion, even though, as I say to my colleagues in the state legislature, when I met with them most recently, I said, listen, you may not have the vote, but you always have your voice.
That's right.
And now we are going to have to employ that more than ever. We may not have the vote,
That's right.
but we still have our voice. We still have the legislative process. We still have parliamentary procedure. We still have ways of getting things done. We've got to be creative. We've got to be learned. We've got to know the process, and we've got to know how to work with others in order to advance an agenda that otherwise might be short-circuited. Listen, it's not over. It just means we got to be smarter.
Listen, we have a call online, too. Good morning, Norm. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. You're on with Congressman Troy Carter.
Yes.
Good morning.
Yeah, how are you doing? How are you doing?
Well,
first
thank
of all, my comment is that I don't think America's ready for a woman president, and America's certainly not ready for a black woman or a person of color as president, and they showed it. So that's my commentary. But my other commentary is that we, for a long time out here, guys like me who've been doing the research and stuff on health care, have been noticing a targeted, systematic targeting of our black health care providers and elimination of them out of our communities. In New Orleans, you see this, at least doctors have been charged with, for doing medical procedures that are necessary in our community for the health care fraud. And oftentimes when you go behind these cases, you find that they're not even billing errors. They're just deliberate misinterpretation by government prosecutors because they're after our assets. And we've complained about it and written about it. I write a blog called YourWithinTheNorms.com. We had cardiologists in New Orleans. I'm in Tampa, in New Orleans. Cancer specialists in New Orleans. The same and this has been going on, and it seems like I don't know why the political structure hasn't done anything, has been ignoring this, but has a direct impact on delivery of health care and those who choose to serve in our community all the time. It seems like we can go to some places and we get limited health care treatment, and when those guys are out here who are doing their job, taking care of the community, they're defined as being excessive or, quote, overbilling or, quote, overprescribing. And we've defined this whole thing about the so-called, quote, opioid crisis has been one giant hoax that has been perpetrated against our medical doctors who are properly prescribing these medications. And you see the closing of our black pharmacies and pharmacists, pharmacy around.
Thank you, Dr. Noah.
Around the state. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congressman, do you know every time you're on, the lines are lit up? We have a call on line 3. Al, good morning.
Good morning, Al.
You're on with Congressman Troy Carter.
Hey.
Good morning.
I want to first congratulate the Congressman on his victory, and that you're doing a great job and keep up the good work. Now, Donald Trump, I heard a middle-aged white woman being interviewed some time ago, that was asked the question, why do you support Donald Trump? And she said, he's like us. So see that act he did, perpetrating a sexual act and that kind of stuff, those people embrace that kind of stuff.
They stick together.
Yeah, they dumb down the characteristics and the character, in order to accept this guy. Now, the next piece is that a good friend of mine once said that without confrontation, there's no resolution. The Democrats got to stop, running on the side when they're confronted. People like Fox News and those podcasts, I've listened to some of those podcasts, and it's so easy to refute some of the things they're said. But if you're not confrontating them, there won't be any resolution. Buttigieg called Musk when he was around saying how they weren't doing things with the hurricane and stuff on the East Coast directly. He confronted him. And Musk came out and said, oh, yeah, well, I was wrong about some stuff. So, the Democrats got to be ready to fight.
Thank you.
People don't play clean anymore. So I think that they got to revamp things. And also, too, with all that stuff with the paying for those surgeries and things like that, they didn't come out strong and let folks know that all that was under Trump time, that legislation.
Thank you, Big Al.
Stuff, so.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to expose that voice, but that's somebody who grew up with the congressman.
Oh, yeah?
Absolutely.
And lifelong friend.
That's right.
A
leader in his own right.
One of the great public service people of our time, no doubt, man.
I mean,
the comments that were made, the comments that were made by both callers are a lot of which is indicative of why we need to vote.
Yeah,
why we need to stick together.
Simple.
When people say, why haven't you guys done X, Y, and Z? You've got to understand that oftentimes we're swimming upstream and we're trying our best to address the issues that you talk about in the barbershop or at the dinner table. But remember, as we push forward, there are people that are pushing back, and we need your help to get more people that are willing to fight the good fight to bring about these changes, to be elected to mayor's offices, to city council offices, to school boards and state legislatures and gubernatorial offices and members of Congress and the Senate, and yes, the White House. But that's only going to happen when we unify and stay concentrated on getting the job done. I find that oftentimes we're more critical of our own than we are of others. And there's something wrong with that degree of self-hate that requires us to all look deeper into our souls and start to work together to demonstrate a oneness like we've never had before. Let's take this bad experience and use it as a learning experience. As President Obama always says, don't boo, vote. And I'll say, let's not boo, let's organize, and let's be ready to do the right thing for the right reasons.
We have another caller online too, Reverend Calhoun. Good morning. You're on with Congressman Troy Carter.
Good morning, Mayor Calhoun.
Good morning to all.
Morning, Rev.
Again, congratulations, Dr. Carter. Given the
Thank you,
fact
sir.
that we just got a new district, and that new district now is going to come under the scrutiny of the Supreme Court, could you tell me what type of threat can be there? Will they have to put somebody else in that position, or they're going to redraw the district? Could you give me some insight as to what that's about?
Well, the math is math, as I've always said. There should not be anything to be said other than math is math. And the demographics suggest that we should have two maps where African Americans have an opportunity to be elected, a reasonable chance of being elected. Now the Supreme Court has indicated just last week that they're going to revisit the newly created 6th district that is now held by Congressman-elect Cleo Fields. And the Supreme Court, as you know, is not our Supreme Court. And now we don't have the value of having at least the White House
redraw the district,
to be able to push back against
election
that.
Has to be held?
No, it will not take into effect until anything that happens will not take into effect until this term ends.
Right.
So this term will hold, and any changes in the demography will not take place until the next election.
Okay, then. All right, then, guys.
So there will be an absolute full term for the new 6th district, and hopefully there'll be a continued term after that. But that's going to be dependent on what happens in the courts and the same kind of shenanigans that we've had to deal with all along with the Supreme Court.
Are you on a hard clock, Congresswoman? I know you try to fit us in. Folks, I have no idea what time in the morning your business starts, but can you stay with us till 8:20, about 8:18 sometime?
No, I've got to.
Okay.
I've got to.
All right.
I got to get over to Xavier University for the president's leadership breakfast that I'm speaking. I can stay another 5 minutes though, if that helps. 5-6 minutes.
Take
another call or two.
Can we extend the break 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
Great.
we're gonna
Okay.
keep-
Great.
yeah.
Great.
Well,
Great.
well, thank you, Reverend Calhoun, for your questions. And I think I didn't know if you heard the last part of his question. I think he was asking Congressman, do elections have to be held prior to them redrawing district maps? I think is what he was trying to ask.
And so no, the new map, even if it's drawn tomorrow, will not take effect until 2 years from now when we're all up for re-election again.
Okay.
This term will not be impacted.
Gotcha. Okay. So we have another caller on line 3. Welcome to the Good Morning Show, Kraft. You're on with
Good
Congressman
morning.
Troy Carter.
Good morning, Craig. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah,
How are
good
you?
morning.
You're
Good-
on
good-
with the
you're-
Congressman.
Good morning. Go ahead, you're on. You can ask your question or make your comment. All right.
Maybe he thought he wanted to say something to the Congressman. Maybe his connection is bad. Maybe he connected to Bluetooth in the car.
Right.
And
Yeah.
he couldn't hear us. Maybe
Technology.
but you know.
Congressman,
that
you're.
happens.
First of all, a lot of times people forget about the work of the Congressional Black Caucus, and a lot of the stuff Dr. White and I talk about here, and what I've the last couple of years, the study, especially the Black wealth divide, what's happened with us losing generational wealth, right? The home ownership stats going down. The Black Caucus has done yeoman's work in looking at us where we are economically, socially, and access to education. Talk about what are your sessions going to be like now, and what does it mean to have an ally like Cleo Fields, especially from your home state, Congressman?
Listen, having two members of the Democratic Party serve in Congress is an incredible help. It's an opportunity to give us yet another voice in our delegation, another voice to fight for those things that are important to people in Louisiana, to have a greater voice that lends a little more balance to the Republican Democrat discussion. So having Congressman-elect Fields to join us in Washington is going to be an incredible asset and plus for Louisiana and for America, quite frankly, because the more balanced the bodies of Congress are, the more balanced the policies are.
Yeah.
The more voices that come to the table that speak for those that have historically been left out, left behind, gives us an opportunity to have greater inclusion, to fight for those who have not always gotten a fair shake. And listen, let's be fair. We know that our communities have not always had a fair shake. And we also know that there is a move afoot to make those shakes even less fair. But we're not gonna leave the table. We're not gonna give up. We're not gonna let it happen. Remember, there was a time when there were no members of Congress that looked like us or came from our community. There was a time when there was no members of the Louisiana legislature that looked or came from our communities. There was a time when there was no one on the New Orleans City Council that looked or came from our communities. Right. But look how we've been blessed. Yeah. And we have these natural ebbs and flows, and
right.
We're going to continue to fight.
That's right. Well, thank you so much. All I can tell you is that we're confident in knowing that there's someone that has institutional knowledge, the relationships, right, and the work ethic to represent us. As important as you have been, you're going to be even more important, not just to us, but to the rest of this country. So please continue your relationships, and please continue to use us in any way that you can, Congressman.
God bless you, and thank you for your leadership, OT, and thank you, Dr. Wyatt. Let's continue working together. As I refer to you guys often, my partners in justice. And none of us do anything alone. It's a collective effort. God bless you. God bless you.
Amen.
Both.
Give
God
your
bless
wife and mom a hug for us, too.
Thank you
We're
so much,
always praying for you
Congressman.
and your family. Absolutely. Wow, great
Thank you,
segment.
brother.
I love that. It's always good when you can have a free-flowing conversation, especially this time.
Yes,
that was
absolutely.
important to have, Dr. White.
Absolutely. Listen, I don't think people realize the importance of having that direct connection to a congressman that's willing to give himself to us every week to tell us not only what he's doing on behalf of the city and the state, but to also clarify some things after such an historic election, such as the one we just endured.
Yeah,
so,
no doubt about it. And it's interesting. I detected in his voice the seriousness of the time.
Yes.
And that was important for people to not only hear that, but to feel that.
Oh, absolutely. But there's more to come.
WBOK 1230 a.m.?
What New Orleans is talking about.
Blue Station?
Our station.
You know it's our station.
WBOK 1230 a.m. New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Elon Musk's net worth is surging after Donald Trump's election night victory. The Tesla CEO, who went all in on his support of now President-elect Trump, saw automaker stock surge Wednesday, sending his net worth up at least $20 billion. A new study suggests that increased daytime sleepiness in older adults may indicate a higher risk of developing dementia. Over 35% of those experiencing daytime sleepiness developed a cognitive risk syndrome, often leading to slow walking speed and memory loss. The Federal Reserve wraps up a 2-day meeting today with a highly anticipated announcement on interest rates. Most analysts predict the central bank will cut rates by a quarter point or 25 basis points. And Michael Jackson's children were at the funeral of Tito Jackson earlier this week. The Jackson 5 member and Rock and Roll Hall of Famer died of a heart attack back in September at age 70 and was laid to rest Monday in Glendale, California. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
New Schools for New Orleans, along with Allstate Sugar Bowl and Entergy New Orleans, would like to send a huge congratulations to our class of 2024 New Orleans Excellence in Teaching Award honorees. This year, we had 90 Teachers of the Year from each public school in New Orleans. Each of them was recognized at our annual gala, where we had over 350 attendees. We're excited to also share that each honoree is receiving a $1,000 classroom grant. Thank you for everything you do, teachers.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 a.m.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. And to the right of me is none other than the phenomenal OT.
I'm Dr. Wyatt, co-host, y'all.
Oliver Thomas. And behind the glass is Naira holding us all together. Yeah. But as we were just talking about off air, we love the conversations with our congressmen. And today was a little bit different because we were able to kind of talk to him off the cuff. And
it was important to have. He explained a couple of things, right? Yeah. How he's going to continue to work, but how his job is going to change in many cases, right? Mm-hmm. How he's going to spend as much time fighting as advocating. But also he said something that was important, right? You don't give up. You still have to have the temperament and the work ethic to work with the people who are there to deliver to us.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like a boxing match. You don't quit when you get punched in the throat, do you? You got to keep fighting. Yeah. That's all. You're on the ropes, but
sometimes you got to switch
come out swinging.
From right hand to southpaw.
That's it. Yeah. Go to the body shots.
What you know about that, girl?
I'm an athlete. I keep trying to tell you that.
What you know about that?
I watch boxing. But no, I think it's always good to hear from folk who are in the foxhole still being that optimistic about the path forward. Right. And so that's what I think a lot of people need to hear.
Did you hear that, James? so did you hear that, Mr. James? The congressman say he's still optimistic, just like me and Dr. White. Just like we were.
We didn't come here hanging our heads the next day.
That's absolutely right.
You give credit where credit is due. Like we wanted a certain outcome. The outcome didn't happen, but we still have to understand that we still live here in the United States. He is still going to be the commander-in-chief, and we have to just figure out a way.
So we talked about something off air.
Yes.
That's important. 504-582-9422. And Dr. Wyatt, you always soak my memory, right? And you make my brain bigger than it is. So how does this embolden, right? So let's say, these people say things to win, right? There's a political agenda.
Yes.
But this stuff was so extreme.
Mm-hmm.
How does Trump's overwhelming victory embolden those people that we really need to be afraid of?
Right.
Like governors and legislators
Yes.
and judges.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Police officers.
And
police
law
officers, because
law
he
enforcement.
spoke directly to them when he said, they need
Unfettered
to be able
power,
to do their
unchecked
jobs. I
power.
want to give them federal
Right.
immunity because
Right.
they have to go out and do their job. What a person who is not wearing a uniform to do the right thing
Right.
heard is, I have unchecked power to handle you however I want to handle you, and my commander
So
in
how
chief
does
is gonna
this
have my back.
embolden
That's what they
them
heard.
in
It will embolden them. And as we were talking about it, think about the governor's office. You know, you have to think about the attorney general's office. All of those people.
Is the city of New Orleans now just another parish
Listen.
run by the state?
What I will say as a native to this community, you could do a lot of things to a lot of parishes that circle New Orleans.
Mhm.
You got to have a whole different kind of fight if you coming over here trying to flip our tables and rearrange our furniture. It's not going to be easy.
You won't cross that 17.
It's not going to be easy.
Different.
It's not going to be
Cross
easy.
that 17.
Yeah, and so you gotta really battle plan for a place like
Right.
New Orleans.
Right.
Even with all of our flaws, even with all of our missteps, even with
Right.
all of our leadership that
We've
some
been there
folk,
before.
some folk don't believe in. We've been here
We've
before.
been there before.
We've been on the ropes before.
That's right.
We've been punched in at the rope
We've
before.
been there before.
And we still swinging. And so for me, that's what this is about. You could do all of the things you want to do legislatively and all of that. We still figure out a way to hold New Orleans together and hold New Orleans in all of its glory. And I continue to tell
Katrina
people.
couldn't knock us out.
Could not. I keep telling people, they consider this a red state, but we live in a blue city.
Right.
Right? And we live in a city that is historically black. It may not be as black as it once was, but it still has a rich history of black folk who will not go down without a fight. And so for me, I take solace in that. We built up different in New Orleans. I don't know about the NOLA folk. That's a new influx of people, in my opinion. But the New Orleanians, the people who are native and indigenous to this community, who create the culture for what the culture is, who are the very reasons people flock here, you can't just do anything to us. We're not pushovers
That's
here.
right.
We're not pushovers here. So that's what gives me solace. And I hope James heard that. So that's why we were able to come here the next day with our head held high and being very comfortable in our opinions, is because we understood that even what we wanted was still only a possibility. It wasn't a certainty. Yeah. Nah. It's no retreat, no surrender over here.
Look at Naira and saying, ain't gonna let nobody turn me
Naira
around.
had his eye on a sparrow
Keep
early this
on
morning. So,
walking, keep
can't
on
nobody shake
talking.
Naira.
They ain't no,
Yeah.
no, hey guys, look,
Yeah.
they're going to be challenges. They're going to
Yes.
be battle, but they always are. Every time you get up every morning.
Find
right?
something and defend it
But
like your life depends
that's
on it, right?
absolutely
So for me, it's this idea of
Sharpen your
getting
game.
rid of the Department of Education. That is my cause. That's something I will defend, and I will defend it like my life depended on it. If you care about health care and women's
Mm-hmm.
right to health care, if that's your charge, defend it.
So 504
like your life depends on it.
582-9422.
Yeah.
Do you think that this will further embolden folk in the state, right, who think that because of this Trump's overwhelming victory, or what they consider an overwhelming landslide, and the mandate, that would embolden their efforts in terms of how we protect ourselves? If you think that, give us a call, 504-582-9422.
Here's another point I was thinking about yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Vice President Kamala Harris did what she did and ran the kind of campaign she ran in months, just a few months.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, in my mind, I often sit back and I think, if the president had stepped aside sooner, would this outcome have been different? Because this was a very, very, it was a quick, resetting of candidates, right? You changed over really quick. She took the baton, had to run with it very quickly. There was no time to prepare as she would have had he stepped aside.
An educator
earlier.
and a teacher like you would ask that question, and that's a good, legitimate question, and it's older discussion here as well as nationally, because the folk are marveling on how much money she raised.
Yes.
The political process and the time frames are
Yes.
set up for a reason.
Yeah.
Right?
You still have to be able to get
It
out.
gets you to know
Yes.
people on a more intimate political level.
And not a rush, expedient way.
And a level. You're able to build blocks and momentum to where you can crescendo to hopefully,
Yes.
winning or being successful.
Absolutely.
And like you cannot understate, you cannot downplay that.
Right.
Because you go through a cycle of qualifying a political period for a reason.
Yeah. And I still stand by my assertion that
Great question.
that the Trump campaign was not prepared for a Kamala Harris campaign. They prepared for Joe Biden. That is who they prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
And when the Democrats made that switch, you had them on their heels. You had them on the ropes. She just did not have
But equally,
enough
though,
time, in my opinion.
equally, there's going to be some study
Yeah.
into the switch
Mhm.
and instant impact. So I'm glad you asked this question because I hadn't thought about it, intellectually, right, or historically, in terms put it into kind of this time. But I'm sure people like you and educators are gonna sit down and say, what impact did it have?
Yeah, because the current president-elect has been
Mm-hmm.
preparing for a return to the White House since he lost the last election.
Yeah, for 10
she
years.
only had
Right.
a few months to
Right.
prepare for
Right.
the
Right.
possibility that she would be the
Right.
commander in chief. But he's been
Right.
preparing
Absolutely.
and campaigning and doing
And
speeches
had his
rallies.
team behind him.
Absolutely. They didn't come up with Project 2025 overnight. That's a 900+
Right.
page document
Right.
that has nothing but policies in it. Right. And so that's not something that they just came up overnight and said, this is what we're going to do. That was very strategic.
Well,
and it was
I can't
thought out
wait
and planned out.
until people like Professor Condall and Dr. Amity and Dr. Clark and many others. As a matter of fact, we probably need to get them on.
Yeah, I would like to hear
talk
from the
about
professor.
our political
I think his
roundtable.
perspective to me would be valued in this.
Yeah,
in this
I would
setting.
love to hear our
love
political
hear
roundtable.
from him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And anybody else who wants to put their perspective in play.
Yeah, Nyron, can we put our political roundtable again? We can get our wise men and see if we can get Professor Condall, Professor Clark, and Dr. Amity to come on and do a post-analysis. Because if you remember, it was Dr. Amity who predicted the pushback to Barack because America would say, check that box.
Yes.
Already.
Been there, done that.
So I would
Yeah.
I would love to hear their perspective on this piece.
Absolutely.
Put that piece together, man.
And listen, and if you have a perspective, you don't have to be a professor of anything, a doctor of anything. You just have to be concerned about the state of the union. If you have a comment or a question, the number here is 504-582.
You can even call and say, I told you so.
Oh, well, we've been there, done that.
Thank you, James.
We've been there, done that. But look, DJ is on line one. Good morning, DJ. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, Dante.
Are you there?
Hello?
So can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you good now.
All right. Okay. I think Kamala had four major issues with her campaign. I'm going to give you the four.
Give them to us.
Number one, if she fell for the red herring that black men were not voting for her, and that was a red herring. As you see by the numbers, we voted for her, and she put a lot of emphasis on that when she already had us. It was a small segment that wasn't, but for the most part, as you can see, we had her, and so that's one mistake that she made, falling for that red herring. Number two, when she focused too much on trying to prove that she was black. So when that issue came up, then she brought on the Meg Thee Stallions, the Quavos, and Cardi. We don't need that. Like the people you're trying to attract, they're not really going to vote for you for that. That was too much of you trying to prove your blackness. And when she did that, she ostracized a lot of voters, like those rural Pennsylvania voters, those Mormons, those rural Georgia voters. She ostracized them when she really changed the dynamic of her campaign.
What's three?
Number three.
Uh-huh.
Number three is when she started to try to mudsling with Donald Trump. That man is the king of mudslinging. And when what Michelle Obama said, when they go low, you go high. She went low with him, and she got into a pit with a pig, and she lost. So that's a major issue. That's number four is when she didn't say that she would do something different from Biden. When the people wanted some change, the people wanted something better, and when she said that no, I won't change anything, that was a huge mistake because people want to at least say that you could at least be better, do something different. But she didn't put that as a platform. So those 4 major things, in my opinion, caused her to lose this election.
Thank you, DJ. We appreciate you.
I agree with 2 of them.
Yeah, look, we have to go to break, but I definitely want. We gotta come back to that because I have some things to say about the list. But look, if you like DJ, you got a list of things that you think could have changed the trajectory of a Kamala Harris candidacy. The number here is 504-582-9422. But stay with us after the break. We're gonna talk more about this. About this.
Is our guest here? Oh, our guest is here.
Our guest is here, so we'll talk to our guest. We'll go, Mr. Andy from the Greater New Orleans Foundation. After the break, this is WBOK 1230 AM.
What New Orleans is always talking about.
All day long.
Whose station?
Our station.
It's our station, man.
Hey, this is D. Riley from the 90s Hits R&B Jams. Make sure you listen to WBOK 1230 AM every Saturday night from 7 until 9 p.m. I'll be giving you the best R&B jams from the 90s. That's right, all your favorites and more. With me, D. Riley, your host of the 90s Hits, right here on WBOK 1230 AM. Or listen online at WBOK1230.com. WBOK, the station you listen to longer.
Good morning and happy Thursday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at today's headlines. The New Orleans Police Department is investigating a shooting in Mid-City. We're told a man was found on Bank Street near Broad with at least 1 gunshot wound around 11 Wednesday night. He was taken to a local hospital where right now there is no word on his condition. Then happening today in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, lawmakers will begin meeting in earnest to discuss tax reform. That's because this is the first full day of a special session. Governor Jeff Landry called that special session due to a budget shortfall of several $1 million. He says he also wants to make tax reforms to make Louisiana more competitive on a national scale. This is the 3rd special session called this year. The other 2 focused on crime and the state's ongoing insurance crisis. Back here in New Orleans, city leaders are in the process of presenting their spending plans for 2025, and city council members want to hear your feedback on the $1.8 billion budget proposal. There is a meeting tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. on Crowder Boulevard. Then there is another meeting on Monday. That is at the Algiers Regional Library, also from 6 to 7. And that is a check of today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News. Have a great day and happy Friday Eve.
NOLA Public Schools' main round enrollment for kindergarten through 12th grade is now open. With 73 schools available through the NOLA Public Schools Common Application Process, or NCAP, finding the right school fit for your family is easier than ever. List up to 12 choices to maximize your chances and apply by January 24th. We're all in, and we hope you are too. Apply today at enrollnolaps.com. That's enrollnolaps.com.
Hi, this is Cary Grant. Let's elevate every Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. as we discuss the community, the country, and the world, from politics to current events and sports. We look forward to your input and continuing the quality programming on your community station, WBOK. Join us every Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. on Elevated Conversations, the Arnie and Cary Show.
Life moves fast. Get vaccinated against flu and COVID-19 to protect yourself from severe symptoms. Stay healthy and be there for every twist, turn, and adventure. Get started at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hello, Jaguar Nation. This is Chris Powers, the voice of your Southern University Jaguars. Southern is back at A.W. Mumford Stadium this week, and we want you to be a part of the action. So don't miss a play right here on WBOK 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about. Join myself and Hall of Fame Coach Pete Richardson for this Saturday's game as the Jaguars host the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. Countdown to Jaguar Kickoff pregame show starts early at 1:30 p.m. and kickoff begins at 2 right here on WBOK 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 a.m.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 a.m.
And we are back. Welcome Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. To the right of me.
T.
And now he's behind the glass holding us all down, but in studio right now with us is Mr. Andy from the Greater New Orleans Foundation. And we're going to talk all things building a brighter future for our region. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well.
You're doing well. You look well.
The family's all right? You're okay?
The family's good, yeah.
Good.
I don't know if y'all saw, but Mr. Andy was also dancing with us, while we were bringing the show.
Andy got a little rhythm.
I'm trying,
He got his honorary brother's card, yeah. So, Andy, first of all, for Phil who may not know, give our listening audience, especially if you've been here before, and thank you for your contributions and your relationship here with this little black radio station. Who is Andy Copping, and what is the Greater New Orleans Foundation and their mission?
Yeah, we're the community foundation for the 13 parishes of Southeast Louisiana, right? But headquartered right here in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. We started out 101 years ago, as the community chest back in 1923, where folks would raise money to help, get through the Depression, get through the wars. And in 1983, we became the Greater New Orleans Foundation, kind of the form that we take today. I think the biggest thing that has transformed our institution was actually Hurricane Katrina. We were kind of helping people be their best philanthropist selves up until that point. But at that point, we really started to reach out to the community and run programs. So we had a $23 million affordable housing program we created after Katrina. Councilmember Thomas remembers the Unified New Orleans plan that tried to bring everybody together. That was funded through us. And we've been doing a lot of work to try to make sure we're reaching all parts of the community. So our mission is our vision is really to create a thriving, just, and sustainable region. And we try to do that by advancing charitable giving. We just celebrated Black Philanthropy Month. I saw the Tribune outside here in the office, where there's a big picture about that as well. We had held our 5th celebration of Black Philanthropy right here on Xavier's campus, honoring Dr. Norman C. Francis. And we set up a racial equity fund in his honor. We're raising money for that to make sure that we can help Black-led groups that are on the front lines of the civil rights fight and building wealth for the Black community, among other of the many things that we do at the Greater New Orleans Foundation. So it's really, I tell people I got the best job of anybody in the city. I help people.
No, after us.
After us.
I
said third best. But I get to help people make our city better, and that's a real blessing.
Well, it's always good when you talk to folk when you can hear their love for their work
and what they do.
It comes across, because I think that it's important to love what you do so it doesn't feel like work. Right. But you gave us that brief, the introduction to GNOF. But tell us about the evolution of the organization. You're over 100 years old, like from your start to now. Talk about that evolution.
And the change.
Yeah. Well, look, it's no secret that in 1923, the city of New Orleans was very different and inequitable. There was the middle of Jim Crow, and I think we had, 60, 70 straight white men who were the chairmen of our board, right? There was a moment that Dr. Norman Francis told us about back in the 50s when, in fact, the Greater New Orleans Foundation was getting pressure from different powers that be to not give a grant to the Urban League. And for a year, the Greater New Orleans Foundation, our predecessors, my organization's predecessors, took the Urban League out of the grant-making list. Mm-hmm. Dr. Francis, when he was, Citizen Francis, he may have been president of Xavier back in 1957, I'm not sure, but he led the charge to change that policy. Yeah. And have great gratitude for him and the civil rights leaders who fought. And the board of directors that we had at that time reversed course and did the right thing, put the Urban League back in that grant. But that just goes to show you that, again, we have not, in our history, been perfect. We've got to acknowledge mistakes that our organization has made. I said that from the podium at our 100th year anniversary, which was back in 2023, that we had obviously come a long way, but we had to acknowledge our history. And some of that history isn't all good.
So acknowledging that history, one of your cornerstones is equity,
yes,
right? Talk about the role that equity plays, especially in this modern day.
Yeah.
As we celebrate 100, but this 21st century Greater New Orleans Foundation. Give us some examples of that.
Right. I think that probably the best example, Councilmember, is the Greater Together Fund for Racial Equity. And so after George Floyd was murdered, one of our colleagues said, well, we were saying, what should we do? So, well, what do we do?
Right.
We raise money and give it away. So we need to create a fund. So we said, we're going to raise $3 million. We're going to give it away over a 3-year period to Black-led organizations who are working on the front lines of civil rights and, again, building wealth for the Black community where we live. And equity is now a core value of the foundation since 2018 when I got there. And it's really central to the grant making that we do. If you look at the discretionary grant making, the stuff that we and our board control, about half the grants are always going to Black-led organizations. We've got a commitment in our training programs to really lift up the talent and build the talent. There's a racial leadership gap, as you all know,
right.
But we did a study documenting that racial leadership gap in the nonprofit sector and said, look, we've got in our region, 44% of the people in our region are people of color, obviously more than that in the city of New Orleans, but our leadership of nonprofits is less than that. And what can we do to close that gap? And so we're training folks to be able to take that next leadership role of executive directors and pushing it.
But if you don't have donors, you don't have anything to give, right? So talk about that relationship and how do you work with them, especially as the mission started to change,
yeah,
right?
No, I think
and the role of the donors and what that work is like to get them, because if they're not, if the other philanthropists aren't there to give to the foundation, you can have talk about all the equity and have all the best intentions in the world. If you ain't got no money, you don't have a foundation.
Well, that's a great point. I mean, what we are is about giving money away to great organizations, and I think that we got to meet people where they are, and we are familiar with a lot of generous, kind, thoughtful people, but they may not have all of the exposure.
Philanthropy took a hit during COVID. Philanthropy took a hit. There was a study that was done nationally and internationally that talked about philanthropy and philanthropists, right? Fewer people were controlling most of the money, but a whole lot of the money wasn't getting into the pockets to organizations like yours. Talk about that challenge. Is it loosening up a little bit post-COVID? Where are we there?
I think what was interesting is what really hit was right 2020, COVID, people opened their wallets up, actually. Right. George Floyd's murder, people opened their wallets up. Then in 2021, the economy was down, people got over the urgency, and that's when it dropped. It's starting to come back right now, but I think this question of, we got to introduce folks to people that they haven't seen before. So one of our favorite organizations, we have a women's giving circle where women give $1,100 a year, got over 100 of them. We give out a big $100,000 grant every year. Well, some of the organizations that have won are organizations that they had never seen. So we gave First 72 Plus a $5,000 grant a number of years ago when they were first getting started. This is the organization that helps folks returning home from prison get back on their feet. Our Women's Giving Circle gave them a $100,000 transformational grant. And we introduced well over 100 women, most of them who had never heard of First 72, which was formed by a bunch of men who came back from Angola. They didn't know Ben Smith. They didn't know Reverend Ben Smith. They didn't know those folks, but they got to meet him. And that, OT, changed people's hearts. So it wasn't...
Reverend Smith, one of the heroes of our time.
Indeed. And he had a vision. I mean, he would drive his van up to Angola to meet with folks on his own dime, on his own time, to make sure that folks knew that they had a place to come when they got home so that they got off on the right way, that somebody loved them, somebody cared about them, that was going to make sure that they got, a roof over their head, an ID card, a TWIC card to go to work, a driver's license. They got the things that they needed to get themselves moving forward. And it was that kind of sharing those stories with our funders, that's what brings them to a different vision for how to contribute, because they meet people, they see their work, they see their value, and that's what we're trying to do to make sure that we change hearts and minds. It's actually the human interaction when they say, okay, I love those people. I love the work that they're doing, and I want to invest in them. And that's, I think, the biggest opportunity that we have to change hearts and minds.
So is there like an event, gala, gathering where the recipients of the donations come together where the funders can see where their donations are going, how it's impacting the community?
Right. We try to do all those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And again, the biggest one most recently that we did was this celebration of Black philanthropy. We honored Dr. Norman C. Francis right here on campus.
That was
right?
my president.
Council member
yes.
Thomas was there. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And we also announced $150,000 worth of grants to Black-led organizations that are working on that mission, celebrated them, celebrated some of the students from St. Mary's who get scholarships from our organization. They were there in the house. And so we try to make sure, again, that there are great stories of great people doing all kinds of amazing work all over our community, and we want to lift them up. We also wanted to lift up, Black philanthropists, right? Because as you know,
absolutely,
African Americans in our country give a higher percentage of their wealth away
from Madam
than anybody
Walker
else.
To now.
Yep, exactly. They're given what they've got, and they're given generously. And in New Orleans, we do that better than anybody else. So our community and our African American community in New Orleans has statistically been shown to be the most generous in the country, and that's something to say. I mean, that's something we ought to be proud of.
Is there like an application process for folk who maybe want to get access to the funding opportunities? Is there a way?
Yeah, the best we have different grants programs that we always advertise in our newsletter. Mm-hmm. So if you go to the Greater New Orleans Foundation, GNOF.org's website, you can sign up for our newsletter. Every time we're doing a grant application, we put it out there through that website. Mm-hmm. And we're always trying to help different folks, whether they get a grant or come to our training programs for nonprofits.
Because so there's training programs.
We have our nonprofit leadership and effectiveness training. So we have trainings for executive directors,
yes, you did,
for boards of directors.
Development program.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
For emerging leaders. And this is the one, again, where we're talking about really focusing and centering equity, making sure that our recruitment is of the future leaders of our organizations and building their talents so that they're the ones who are going to seize those jobs. So we close that racial leadership gap in the nonprofit sector.
So I also see here that you guys also respond to disasters. Can you talk about what GNOF does in the wake of disasters? Everybody talks about Hurricane Katrina, but we've had Ida. We've had a number of hurricanes. What is your role there?
Yeah, so I say this all the time. Everybody's got a job, right? Mm-hmm. The mayor has a job. The council has a job. The police chief has a job. The governor, the president. Our job is to raise money, and it's to give it away to people on the front lines because, as you know, once the government gears up, they bring the big bucks, they bring the big, resources. But in the short term, it's people to people. It's the nonprofits, the people who are taking each other in. So we raise money and give it to great organizations on the front lines. I'll tell you a story about a place I've fallen in love with. It's New Wine Christian Fellowship in Laplace, right? And Pastor Bernard there had a program going, just like Pastor Barrier in New Orleans East had. And we gave Pastor Barrier at Household of Faith a grant as well. People coming in, getting the supplies that they need, meeting them where they are at that moment.
Pastor and Dale Barrier have been doing that for years without a foundation assistance. So it's good to see.
Yeah, so we're helping him now. Right. And we helped him after Ida. We helped him after, during the pandemic. We had a program where I believe it was Nike gave us a bunch of shoes, and Pastor Barrier partnered with us to give away tens of thousands of pairs of shoes because that was something that somebody had to give, and we wanted to find somebody who could get it to the people who needed it most. And so there's two things I'll tell you about that. So the first thing we do is try to give away the money that people need in the short term to get a roof over their head, to get clothes, to get food, to get supplies. But we always save a little bit to try to make sure that we can make a lasting impact that will make life better in the future. So one of the things that you'll remember is, we had more deaths right after Ida than they did in South Louisiana because we lost power and people died of heat stroke, right? So we did a program with Together Louisiana, the city council and the city have gotten involved in, called community lighthouses, right? Community lighthouses are where we put solar panels and battery storage on churches like Household of Faith, like New Wine Christian Fellowship,
Isn't
like
that
First
over there by
Grace.
Pastor Manning as well? Isn't
Pastor
that one of the
Pastor
places?
Manning.
Yeah.
Yep. The Lutheran Church on Louisiana Avenue, Crossroads in New Orleans East.
I just learned about that recently.
Yeah.
Yes, I was like, that's why it's perfect.
Dr. Wives, that was a great question about response to storms and natural disasters as part of our legacy. I'd known Andy Coppling for quite some time, his work, especially in state government. But our first real working opportunity where we had to come together was at 3:30 in the morning in West Baton Rouge, over by Sheriff Case's office, where there was several hundred Katrina evacuees who were stranded there, who had come from the dome. They had been transported. They were taking people out of the dome. And me, Collis Temple, Chuck Bernard, we were there with them. There wasn't any transportation. They didn't have any food. And we were there at 3:30 in the morning calling people to see who could help. Andy was working with the governor's office. We called Andy. I think the governor was maybe visiting one of the shelters in another state. He reached out to Lieutenant Governor Mitch Landrieu, and Andy used his relationships to get them to donate buses to actually get those people off the street, get them something to eat. First of all, me and Chuck Bernard and Collis Temple were able to get food, but Andy and former Lieutenant Governor Landrieu used their relationships to get buses to bring those people to places where they could shelter. And that was our first.
Thank you for your service.
That was our first
to
working relationship.
To this community, we appreciate everything that you're doing, and it's so much that you're doing, because on top of that, there's another initiative in terms of workforce development.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about GNOF's role there?
Yeah. Again, we think about unjust systems and our focus on equity. We know we got lots of people who've got amazing talent, and for some reason, they're unable to access the system, whether it's a barrier that's been put up historically or the systems just don't work. And so our workforce development program is designed to make sure that we can get disconnected workers connected to training and jobs, get the support they need to get through those, and jobs that pay good wages, have a benefits plan, and a career path. So we started working with healthcare organizations a number of years ago. Said, look, what are you struggling with? They said, we're struggling with a lot of our medical assistants. So we got with Delgado, did a training program, got with nonprofits to help us find the talent. And the talent was in our midst. And guess what? When they went to work with Ochsner and LCMC, the New Orleans East Hospital, the retention rate in these jobs was 90%. So what did that tell you? It wasn't the people, because the people showed that they could do it, that they could get, that earn the jobs, keep the jobs, do the good work. It was a system that was holding them back.
It's
and so
always the system.
we're trying to break down that system.
Ain't no sis without a system.
Well, listen, if you're just tuning in, we're talking to Mr. Andy from the Greater New Orleans Foundation. If you have a question that you want to share with Mr. Andy, the number here is 504-582-9422. We're going to go to break. Yeah. But on the other side of the break, we're going to talk all things GNOF and all of these wonderful initiatives and programs.
The future of Congress, the legislative agenda. How do you readjust in these changing times?
Yes.
Yeah.
That and more.
The current political environment. How will that affect the foundation?
Absolutely. WBOK 1230 AM.
What New Orleans is talking about.
All day long.
Whose station?
Our station.
You know it's our station.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
We have the potential for more scattered showers today. As we get to the afternoon, highs will make it back into those mid-80s. Yesterday, we actually broke a record. And then looking ahead to the next few days, we are tracking chances for rain, but that all depends on what happens with Hurricane Rafael. Right now, the track, though, has shifted more to the south of us, which is some good news. We'll keep you updated on that. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
Tired of the impersonal, one-size-fit-all style of banking? You deserve a bank that delivers exceptional service and personalized attention to your needs. That's the Home Bank Standard. Since 1908, Home Bank has been a trusted financial partner for businesses and families because we go the extra mile to help you reach your goals. See for yourself why Home Bank is good for business, good for life. Stop by any New Orleans area location or find out more at home24bank.com. Home Bank, member FDIC.
Experience the heartbeat of New Orleans at the 2024 Treme Creole Gumbo Festival. Join us on November 9th and 10th as we indulge in an array of gumbo offerings crafted by local chefs, each bringing their unique touch to this classic dish. Live performances featuring the Soul Rebels, Brassaholics, Tanya Boyd Cannon, Charmaine Neville Band, and many, many more. Visit us at www.tremegumbofestival.com for more information.
I'm Howard Robertson, creator and CEO of the Play Ode mobile app. Somebody said it takes a village, and Black Radio is the village voice of the Black community. Get in on Play Ode. Entertained, inspired, informed, and engaged. Hear your music on some of America's best radio stations, podcasts, news and info, wherever you go. For Black radio like it was meant to be, download PLAYODE.
WBOK is pleased to announce the reboot of Crosstown Conversations with host Gene Nathan. A heightened focus on cultural entertainment events and the creators who present them. The new time is now Saturday at noon. Tune into the stories of our exploding creative scene with Gene Nathan on Crosstown Conversations.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Brian Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. We are in conversation with Mr. Andy from Greater New Orleans Foundation, and I was sharing with Mr. Andy that his name is hot in the chat right now on WBOK. They were going all the way back to his road home days, so there's like I knew that name sound familiar. So look, yeah, that is Mr. Andy for Greater New Orleans Foundation. But you had some questions for him prior to us.
Especially you guys are an organization that doesn't take political decisions. Y'all don't get involved in politics. But what about this political environment and philanthropy? Are there any concerns there? Because I know everybody was watching the presidential race, the changes in Congress and the changes in our political environment.
Yeah, no, I think that there's no doubt there's been a change, right, in terms of the leadership. As you noted, we're nonpartisan, so we can't be involved in any kind of elections. Right. But as I told our team yesterday, we're still who we are. We still are working to create a thriving, just, and sustainable Southeast Louisiana. We're still trying to make sure that we help advance charitable giving, advance equity, advance the strength of our nonprofits, and kind of lead these transformational community projects that make our world better. That sometimes you're going to get more partnership with government. Sometimes you're going to get less partnership with government. But we're not changing who we are, the people we care about, the work we're trying to do. We're trying to, we're doing a lot of work around helping low-income communities of color better manage stormwater with green infrastructure, investments we make in them. That's not changing. That work is really important to people's health and well-being. We don't have enough tree canopy in our lowest income communities where it's hottest, where they need it the most, where people's energy bills are too high. So we're trying to make sure we do those things. We're trying to make sure we mitigate stormwater flooding, because guess where the flooding is worst? It's in the lowest income communities in our region, and we've got to make sure we help those grassroots folks protect people, and we're not going to change.
I'd like to walk down another road with you. The data center has been one of our contributors for years, and the last study they did on the disparity in wealth and income and the wealth gap and how it's grown tremendously. The gap between whites and African Americans is actually, per capita wealth for African Americans has gotten worse. Per capita wealth for black women, though we celebrate black women for startup, they don't get the resources to stay up. So those gaps have gotten worse. And workforce development is a major issue. We know the conversation with Boeing about they had hoped that they had had more qualified people in the area, but that's a deeper dive there. To talk about you guys targeting, working with Dr. Stipe over at Delgado, Dr. Orlando Williams, and others, how do we begin to target, to develop a more competent, more diverse workforce so that, especially through philanthropy and through the foundation, so that tourism, do you want some fries with that shake, isn't the only opportunity here, especially for young black men and women.
Right. And I think you just said it really well. There's an opportunity that we are missing, right? Which is there are a lot of employers who are hungry for talent, right? And we just talked about this a minute ago, about it's the system and not the talent. We have the talent in our midst, right? But people have been shut out, left behind.
You sound like OT.
And we've got to figure out how to make sure that those systems work for the people that we're worrying about. So again, how do you got to make sure know what the employer needs and design training programs through Delgado, like we did with the healthcare folks, that meet the job qualifications that the employers need. And then we need to go find that talent. But you know what? That talent is often working. They may be working in jobs that don't pay well. Right. So if you're going to put them in school, they got to get a wage supplement, right? They got to get transportation. They got to get childcare. All of those things are required for us to help people make that transition from a lower paying job to a higher paying job. Because people are figuring out how to get by, but they're not thriving. And thriving is what we want them to be.
So would you say that in this 100-year evolution, right, and I've seen it, but I want to hear it from you, that the foundation is really more strategic in terms of how that impacts our community, whether it's donating to nonprofits in critical areas, but also evolving so that you're making sure you're impacting areas of need?
Yeah, no, I think that it's about how you look at it. And I think that we have learned a lot from people who are on the ground doing the work every day. It's like we can spend all of our time fighting crime, or we can try to figure out how to give people a paycheck, hope for the future, a stake in the future. And that's the investments in young people. That's
annually,
the investments
how much would you say you guys give away annually?
So we there's two ways to answer that question. Usually on our report, it's about $30 to $40 million a year. Most of that is donor directed. So we have a lot of people who set up funds with us, and this is where we're trying to reach their hearts and minds.
And let people know what donor directed
Donor directed means the person who set up the fund with us said, give this money to Xavier, give this money to Tulane.
Like Title I money.
Right.
The Title I tell you what to do with the money.
Yeah. Or it's my charitable checking account,
right,
and I want to give a grant to the Boys and Girls Club, WBOK's
kind of like
charitable foundation, Give NOLA Day, right? And then there's the discretionary grant making when we go out and raise the money for the Racial Equity Fund, for the LGBTQ Fund, for our disaster response funds. And so depending on the year, that's somewhere between $5 and $10 million that we're directing ourselves, right? Usually through disaster response and these big fundraising efforts. So what we try to do with the money that we control directly is show people the way. These are the great organizations. These are the great organizations that you could invest in too, and inspire them, inform them, engage them. And they say, okay, I just saw this great grant that the foundation gave to the first 72 plus. I'm going to join them in that. I'm going to give to YEP. YEP was another one of our winners. We helped them expand to New Orleans East Training Grounds, which is out in the New Orleans East Library. I saw you went to the ribbon cutting for that OT.
I've been working with them though since they were in the Corpus Christi.
Yeah, but that group got a $100,000 grant from us to expand to New Orleans East because we want to show folks the way, and that's really what we're trying to do. Is again, educate folks, win them over, hearts and minds, and that they see themselves invested in the success of our whole community. And we truly believe that if everybody is thriving in New Orleans, we're all going to do better. But to get everybody to thrive, you have to look at who's not thriving. You have to look at the income inequality. You have to look at the lack of opportunities. There's a racial disparity in everything that we're working on at the Greater New Orleans Foundation, everything that you all are talking about in this community conversation. How do we close that gap? And so if we focus on closing that gap and make progress, we're going to make progress for our people. If we pretend that gap doesn't exist, then we're going to be focusing on the wrong thing. And so that's part of, what you all are bringing to the conversation through this radio program, what we're trying to change in terms of the way we approach our work.
So, were you going to say something?
No. I just listening on Andy Copeland, CEO of the Greater New Orleans Foundation, our leading donor and philanthropic
30, 40
agency
million
of 100 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And so listen, if you could leave our viewers or in our listening audience with one key message about the role of the Greater New Orleans Foundation in the region's future, what would that message be?
Yeah, I think we're trying to inspire people to come together, to focus on the ways that everybody, that means all of us, can develop their skills and talents, have the opportunities that they deserve to be their best selves. And if we pull everybody together to work for that future, our community is going to be thriving. But it takes a focus on making sure everybody's part of that conversation, everybody's part of that success, everybody has that opportunity. We're investing in everybody.
Dr. White, how you like that? Pulling everybody together to work for our future.
That sounds like something you need to tell to our president-elect.
Key word was everybody.
Everybody. That sounds like a message.
No doubt about it.
To end on. So what I will say, or what I will ask you is this: is there an email address, a phone number for those who may be listening, whose ear you probably have ringing at this moment? How could they get in touch with you?
Yeah, 598-4663 is our main number. And www.gnof.org is our website. You go there, they'll ask you to sign up for the newsletter. You'll be able to hear from us every other week on the things that we're working on. You'll be able to get in contact. Lots of times there'll be an email address in there. If you want more information, contact this person at the Greater New Orleans Foundation.
And if Miss Linda Lewis with the Lewis Armstrong Family Services wanted to take part in your grant application process, she can do so on the website?
Yes, ma'am.
www.gnof.org.
That's Armstrong Services. That's the Linda Lewis,
yes.
who God uses her own, as well as philanthropy and donors. So Armstrong Family Services. Remember that name.
I will. Right? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Promise
for
to come back
here.
with us?
Yes. If you'll have me, I'll come back.
I mean, because you just educated me real quickly. Like, I knew of GNOF and I knew some of the things you guys were doing, but not all of this.
Now you know.
There's levels to this, layers to this. So thank you for being here.
I'm educated by being here. So thank you and your listeners.
It's the best place to be.
Well, it's so nice we had this time together. Just to have a laugh or sing a song. And before you know it. Well, we gotta say so long. Not the side porch or the back porch, but
the front
what?
Porch.
The front
Up
porch.
next with Grilling and Kimber.
WBOK 12:30 a.m.
The station you listen to all day long.
And whose station?
Our station.
You know it's our station.
secret of what New Orleans is talking about. I promise everything will be okay if you're listening here on the airwaves. It's that WBOK 12:30 a.m.
From the campus of Xavier University.
Yeah.
WBOK 12:30 a.m. Go. An Equity Media Station.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Ohioans are curious about Vice President-elect J.D. Vance's Senate seat. Vance will resign from the Senate before becoming Vice President. Governor Mike DeWine will then appoint his successor, who will serve until December 2026. DeWine hasn't named any candidates yet. A California wildfire near Ventura, fueled by Santa Ana winds, has destroyed homes and forced evacuations. The mountain fire has grown to over 14,000 acres, causing injuries and significant damage. A 41-year-old man in Jackson, Mississippi died on Monday after being buried under hot asphalt due to a hydraulic malfunction while repairing a dump truck. First responders were unable to save him, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. And Tyka Nelson, a singer and sister to the late Prince, has passed away at the age of 64. The Minneapolis, Minnesota native passed away on Monday. No other details have been released. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
You're on the front porch